All right, everybody. Peace. Peace, everybody. This is the Information Man show and podcast. I'm going to have a little discussion tonight with a friend of mine, Brandy J. She's a podcaster as well. I want to say good evening to everybody out there that's listening. Good morning if you're in another country somewhere. Thank you for joining me last night. I know last night was definitely an interesting show because of the way I was talking about the issues around suicide and the fact that there are people out here that are definitely struggling during these times. They're feeling isolated, they're feeling hopeless. So there's a lot going on. And tonight I'm going to do something a little bit different. We're not going to get into that type of conversation, but I'm going to bring Brandy J on with me and talk about social media, news, things that are happening in the news, and talk about podcasting because we're both podcasters and we both spend time producing content on these type of platforms. Let me show you something right here real quick. So we right here, I'm going to put this on the screen and I need to move that a little bit up higher like so. There we go. Easy like butter. So on there is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio podcast, TuneIn. We're on Castbox, on SoundCloud, just a bunch of them. And we're going to talk about the importance of podcasting and how important it is, because this is a way for people to be able to make their voices be heard. When we look at the HAPS app, this particular platform that we're using and that people are enjoying, and I want to say to everybody out there on this app and the guys, Peter, all the people that are responsible for creating this platform, you've done a hell of a job. I'm actually enjoying this platform. Seems like everyone on this platform, the other content creators, the other professionals that are on here, they all seem very friendly. You know, you go into people's chats, you say hi, people are very inviting. I don't know what it is about this app, about this platform, but it seems to have attracted a lot of very professional people, very nice people, very fun people, people who simply want to support one another. And it's to me, it's obvious because people are so open to subscribing to people's channels, checking out what you're doing. And then you have a variety. You have people on here who do sports, who do news like myself, who do politics, who do art, exercise, people who do religious, prayers, and people who have interesting conversations. And then I see people from other countries talking with people in America and other countries about restaurants and art. I saw someone on HAPS today. I know she's in France. I don't remember her name completely, but I thought it was fascinating when she was talking to someone who was in France, and they were talking about one of the oldest restaurants in the country, and they were in one of them. And so it's interesting how you can get news from all over the world on this app, which is, to me, this is independent media. And this, in my estimate, allows people to be able to talk about issues, to report news globally very quickly. This is a very powerful platform. And I think people should definitely be appreciative of those who put this together and gave us a platform in which we can express our thoughts. We can talk about issues, give a professional analysis, because there are professional people on this platform who have badges, meaning that they've been verified in the field of journalism, for example. And I think that's fantastic. So let me go right ahead and bring my guest on, Brandy, and I'm going to give her a clap as I bring her in. I thank you, all 28 of you that have come in into the program tonight. Tonight is going to be mellow. Last night was a little bit more controversial show that I did, but tonight we're going to be we got Chris who's come in. Thank you, Chris, for being here. We have the HAPS team, Shepard, who's come in saying hello from Los Angeles. Hey, I'm in California. And then we got Chris from Denver. Hello from Denver. And hey, I really enjoy your broadcast today, and I like seeing all that snow outside. It was very, I thought it was very nice, and you were very inviting when I came over. So I really appreciate you being as inviting as you were when I came over to your channel. I definitely appreciate that. So we're going to talk about social media tonight. We're both podcasters, and so I'm going to bring her on in and unmute her mic, and hopefully we're having some. And I understand that the HAPS app is in beta stage, and it has some glitches, but they're improving. You know, this is how it is. You're going to have some things, but things get improved over time. So definitely familiar with that understanding. So let me bring her on in, and hopefully this will work. And I think I brought you up top. So let me bring you in here. And if this thing works the way I want it to work, I'm going to go up top here. And there we go. There we go. Okay, so we were having some issues earlier, Brandy, with the visuals and all these different things, but then you were trying to get in, and eventually you did get in and everything like that. And I'm glad that you're here. Now,
sorry to stress you out.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay.
Kidding.
It's okay. It's okay. You're in. Let everybody know where you are from, and a little bit about your podcast and some of the issues that you get into on your particular podcast.
Yes. So I'll just start with my basic number one podcast is Voices of Courage. This season is called Walk the Talk, because it's time to start to walk in and enough of talking. And we basically talking about I talk about a little bit of everything, but I like to make sure that I touch on topics that make people uncomfortable, because those are the things that need to be talked about, those things that people don't want to talk about, and that's the very things that we need to talk about so we can move forward. So that can be anything that has to do, like I have a friend of mine that's transitioning, she's transgender, so I've been working with her and following her. So, because there's been a lot of like violence and stuff towards that, to that community, and so she's been like educating people, and so seeing her go on her journey. So I've done a woman that was being accused of murder, and so things with children. So just any and everything that happens in this world, I'll touch on.
Now, you've interviewed some interesting people on your podcast. Can you give a few names, drop a few names of people that you've had a chance to interview on some subjects? Because I've had a chance to listen to your podcast, and you've had some very interesting topics. Can you elaborate a little bit further on that?
Okay. Well, if there's name drops, then that's there probably was like an actor. But then, like, for instance, Larry Hankin from Breaking Bad, he came on and he talked about his story, like how he was homeless. And so, you know what I mean? So like a lot of people didn't know that about him, that what he went through when he was on, he was that guy on the couch on Friends. And he talked about that story, how he ended up not being on Friends anymore. And it wasn't a walk in the park. So that was pretty interesting. And who was the other? Quite a few.
Let me, I hate to stop you at this moment, but I think I just been notified that HAPS is down right now. We've got someone, they said HAPS is down at the moment. And then I think Chris, he said, really, what's up? So it looks like we're going to probably have to do this another day, because I think there is something going on. I'm looking at my page over here to the right. I'm looking at my Facebook page here, and it looks like there's something going on. And then that could be the reason why your picture quality, when you were talking about, hey, I came on here before and I didn't have these problems. That could be the reason why you're having some problems. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna end this. Thank you. We have 33 people that were watching. Yeah, we had a good crowd over here last night. I had about 100 up. I got up to about
Wow.
130 people, 33 people with half
Yeah.
that were watching. Had about 50 in YouTube last night. So we had a nice crowd. I had about 30 or 40 in over in Periscope too. That watched it over time on Twitter. So we'll come back and do this again. This probably explains why we were having some technical issues trying to get you into the system. That explains it right there, Brandy. When I sent you the invite and you were having some problems getting in, and you said your computer kind of went this way or left, that could be because there was something going on with the app itself. And hey, these things happen. It's in beta stage.
Yeah.
I appreciate them creating this.
Yes, nice. I love it.
Over here. And once again, I can't say enough the fact that let me just say hi to everybody in the chat room. I think they can hear me at least, but let me say hello to them right now. And let me say hello to Maurice by way of Facebook, and he's also a YouTuber. But one of the things I appreciate about this platform, and I think every platform is different, and we talked about this before, you have to recognize your audience. And to me, and this is no shade to YouTube, but I just got to keep it real. From what I've been noticing over here on Haps, there's a different audience. I feel that there is a very professional audience of people. When I go through their pages, you see their professions. You see, so I think this platform for me personally, I definitely want to bring a certain style of content to this platform. But last night when I was talking about what happened to the officer who took his life, Clyde Curry, I got raw yesterday because I had to be honest about breaking down suicide. Did you know, Rennie, that there's about 17 out of 100,000 people in America, in terms of police, take their life by suicide? Then you got 13 out of 100,000 to take their life. You got over 100,000 people every 40 seconds that take their life every 40 seconds. So suicide is a serious issue. And I had to break all that down yesterday in my broadcast before I went into my analysis as to what happened to him. And some of us, very much so, some of us believe that, okay, did he do it or was there foul play?
Yeah.
Because he spoke out. And when you speak out against anything that you are a part of, there could be a price to pay. Now, it looks like our feed is working now. Looks like it's back up because I'm seeing it right now. So it looks like it's working now. Okay, so now he says they can see and they can hear. We got 41 coming in. Thank you, because we were about to get off. So last night I had to tell it like it is. But at the same time, I realized that each platform is different, and you must recognize and understand the audience that you are speaking to, right? So yeah. I am going to get into news issues and all these different things over here. So as far as podcasting is concerned, what made you? Let's get back on topic here. What made you, Brandy? What made you desire, have the energy and the fortitude to get involved in podcasting?
Just by accident. No. Well, I've always been very creative and out, just always just into creativity, acting and all that stuff. But I just was messing around in my room one day and I saw something that said podcast and I said, oh, that's interesting. So I did a podcast, did a test run, and then I haven't stopped. So that's what initially got me going. It never crossed my mind. I never watched a podcast. I knew of one that was Joe Budden, but I never really watched a lot of it. Never seen a podcast. I did a whole production, but still yet never had really watched one. I just went off of what I wanted it to look like. So So I just podcasted every single day. I told myself I'm a podcast every day until I get past a year. And I did, and I got past a year, and I kept going. And that's, yeah.
All right.
But
Can you?
yeah,
I think. Do you have your phone turned up? I'm getting some back feed from the. I think you're getting like notifications and stuff like that, but it's causing a little bit of a back sound.
okay, we're good.
Okay. Yeah, it was just causing a little back sound. I can hear it right into my speakers. Oh, fantastic. So let everybody know, how easy is it to get involved in podcasting? I mean, we see people, they tell you go out and get a mic, go out and do this, do that, but you can get all the fancy equipment that you want. And sometimes you don't even need fancy equipment to podcast, but you've got to have a plan. You got to have an idea of where you want to take your podcast. What do you want to talk about? Because you can have all the equipment, but if you don't really have a voice, meaning really understand and have passion about what it is that you want to talk about, what is it that you believe in, what is it that you stand for? There's podcasts out there for cooking, podcasts for exercise, podcasts for politics, just podcasts for all different subject matters, right? So you got to really find your voice. Talk to us a little bit about how you found your voice.
Well, I've always been very passionate about anything. I think my very first serious one was my son for bullying, but I did a big one on telecom, the whale. I don't know if you heard of the documentary Blackfish, and it talks about the whole SeaWorld thing and Don Bradshaw stuff. So that was something that that I'm actually still working on. I did another piece the other day, but that I found very concerning, and I still do. So for me, and that's when it was called A Voice to Be Reckoned With, and it was like, but for me, it was like I can be that voice for people that don't have their voice right now. You know what I mean? I'm the voice for the people, until they can get theirs or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. But, I just know that I've always had very much compassion for any and all situations in life, no matter if it's animal, no matter, person, no matter what it is, I wanted to, shed light, bring light to it. So for me, that's where my energy for podcasting came, knowing that I had a voice and that I could use it the way I want, how I want it to. And the creative part, like you said, you find something that your niche you love before you go out and you get like the equipment and stuff. You have to because people will know if you like what you're talking about, if you're into it. Mm-hmm. And that's what you should do. You should talk about what you love to talk about, because that's something, I feel like podcasting is something that people enjoy. Like nobody's going to go out of their way to do all the work we do. There's a lot of work to just be like, I don't even like doing it. This is something that you like to do. And so I found out very quick that I had never thought of it before, but this was my thing. And to connect, I've made so many friends doing this. I'm more close to people that I've met through this than where I lived my whole entire life. I've made bonds and stuff. So
now
yeah.
Let's go deeper into that now. You said that you've made more friends and deeper bonds than maybe where you grew up. Now, where did you grow up? Now I see.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in San Diego? Or
yeah.
Okay, because we see San Diego, California. Okay, San Diego. And it was actually, if I was to live in Southern, because I'm in Northern California, if I was to live in Southern Cal, a lot of my friends, people that I know, I would want to live in San Diego. San Diego is very nice. It's Navy town, of course. You get the Navy down there.
Yeah.
Close to the border, of course. And but the last time I was down there, I loved San Diego. Very nice.
Yeah.
Let's get into that a little bit more. How has the experience of being a podcaster and interviewing people and connecting with people, why is it that has been more longer lasting bonds than the people that you might have grew up with going to school or your neighborhood? I mean, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, for me, it's because where I am only people I've really associated with. I was teaching completely at that time before all this happened, and so
Yes.
for me, mom, I go to work, I come home, and then I was the 4 o'clock, yeah. So that's what I was doing, which is working and coming home, and
Yes.
and the only people I really dealt with was my coworkers, and then my mom passed, so my sister. I have my sister and stuff. That's my sister. But as far as friends, like I didn't really have. I have friends, but I'm that's the type of person I am. I'm more of I'm very social, but I've more of my time by myself. You know what I mean? Very social, but then it's time to get my energy back. But I think that the reason why this happened was because it was so new to me, and I didn't even fathom to think that I would be in it. It took me a minute to get to that point where I was like, oh, maybe I should start talking to people.
Right.
Because I'm the only one that I know to this day. People say I can't just do a podcast by myself. I feel like I'm talking to myself. I'm like, well, I'm good at it. I'm good. I can throw me in any situation. I'll kill it. And so yeah, but then when I think when COVID hit, I think it's basically kind of like saved, like, I don't even sound extreme, but kind of like saved my life, kind of, because look what's going on. Like, people were kind of secluded, you know what I
Right.
mean? And then it's like you get to like know somebody, and I've been with these people, like a lot of them, like every day. I feel like I'm in the same room with them. I have someone that she's kind of like my best friend, and it was her story too, because she's, it's a very deep story, but her name is Dawn, and we became very close. Then there's the Real Wise crew, despite us working together every day, but it made me have to, sometimes people are always in the mood, you know what I mean, and just
Yes.
going
Yes.
through the motions. And now it's like we actually have this time, you know what I mean, and we're experiencing something that nobody's ever experienced before, and we're just all going through the motions at the same
Mhm.
time too. So
Well,
I think
well,
that's why I'm creating these relationships.
okay. Well, let me say this before we move forward in the discussion. And Chris has just what we called gave me a reward. He says, "Great interview." And let me put his statements. Oh, it won't let me put that statement on the screen, but I can see it. Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. You have a great channel. I thought it was very nice seeing you just talking. You had a great conversation today, and I love the scenery of the snow and Colorado. I just love it. I had an uncle, by the way, who lived in Colorado for about damn near 30 years, and he moved maybe a few years ago, and he's out there in the great northwest of Seattle, and I've been there before. And we got some beautiful country in the western part of the country. Don't sleep on it, folks. The West Coast, there is some nice country, some nice cities, some nice land. There's beautiful scenery in this part of the world and of the country. So let me say this to you. You said something that I thought was very striking. You said that a lot of these folks that you connected with were through social media, and that in some way social media sort of saved you from the
Podcasting.
boredom. Yeah, podcasting. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
podcasting,
Mhm.
and podcasting is part of social media too as well. But I stand corrected there. That you develop relationships, right? But let me say
Yeah.
this here. Uh, Imagine, this is my question to you and everyone listening. What if there was no social media, meaning there was no apps, there was no YouTube? Let's just imagine this right now, folks. Stay with me. Let's say we have this pandemic, and there was no means to talk to people through the computer where you can not only talk to them, but you could see them. And the only means you had would be, let's go back to the old school days before you had smartphones, and you only had to rotary dial people. And how many people remember that, right? Long time ago.
Yeah. My
I'm old enough
dad.
to remember when you would stick your hands and pull it back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old enough to
Gotta
remember
wait
when
for it to come back.
right. I'm old enough to remember when you would say, "Hey, do you got a dime? I need a dime to make a phone call," because you had telephone booths all over the place.
Mhm.
We're a long way from that. But imagine if we were in this pandemic and we didn't have this way to communicate. You're in San Diego. You're in Southern Cal. I'm in Northern Cal, right? Or someone like Chris, or someone in the chat like one of the founders of this platform, Mr. Peter, who's in, I believe, the Great Northwest, he's in Seattle, we wouldn't be able to connect with each other. I wouldn't be able to connect with people that I didn't necessarily know. But what social media has done, which is positive about it, is that it has allowed people who would otherwise never meet or talk to be able to connect. So now I can talk to someone on here who's from another, like today, I was on here today. Who's the young lady? Remind me, Chris. Who's the young lady on Haps who's in she's in Sweden, and she sings. She had like thousands of people watching her today, right? But I had a chance to go on her channel and talk to her briefly about the virus and how they're handling the virus in Sweden and Europe, where she's at, versus here in America. Now, if we didn't have this social media, these platforms, there's no way that I could be talking to someone that I've never met in Sweden about the virus and about what's happening in her neck of the woods versus my neck of the woods, and then talking to her about the fact that she's a singer, she's a musician of the voice type, right? Imagine what would things be like, Brandy, if we didn't, and anybody in the chat room can add into this discussion. What would it be like? We already have depression where people are taking their life, and we have social media. I wonder how worse things would be if we didn't have these ways to connect with each other. What do you think?
It'd be a lot worse. I know factually, I think they would be a lot worse, because I know that a lot of people, like say for instance, recovering, addicts and stuff that depend on their meetings and sponsorship and all that stuff. They were able to, like school, we were able to revert to Zoom. And even though that was still that was the best way, for like, especially for like recovering addicts, and they're just they need that support. I know that was as good as it. Because I'm my friend Scott Silverman, he used to do the KSI News stuff. He does that, the recovery and all that stuff. So he was very concerned about, the people, that were especially everyone, but the struggling ones, and so that's how I knew what was going on, by listening to him and stuff. And so I know definitely in that area that would have been very difficult. The children, I would say for the most part, that would definitely they wouldn't have been able to get what they've been getting. And then just for like us in general, I mean, like I said, if it wasn't for me being able to do this, reach out, talk to you, talk to, my friends. Like last night I was talking to my friends in the Castbox, India.
Yes.
And very, very nice people. But if it wasn't for that, because I was kind of getting in that mode, and then I went in there and it just kind of brought me back. But by you saying that, if that was not there, I couldn't even fathom what would we do?
Like
would we know about social media? We wouldn't know. So what would we do?
Right. For example, let me say this. See, there's some good and there's some bad. There's I wish I can remember his name, because I'm in Northern California, folks. I lived in San Francisco for over 30 years. I lived in Oakland, California. I'm in Oakland. I've been in the Bay Area. I've been in California for a very long time, and Silicon Valley is like a skip and a hop, right? I can literally get to Napa wine country just like that, right, from where I'm at. But Silicon Valley has the pros and it has the cons. There's some people that say, oh, I wish Silicon Valley was never created, because they've created all this technology, and the more technology we have, the more disconnected we are and the more problems we have. And there was a guy who worked for Facebook, a white guy. He has locks in his hair. You've probably seen him on social media, and he talks about the dangers of social media, right? How it isolates people, how people don't know how people don't have good verbal skills. People are so used to just looking at their phones and not really talking to people in person and having that personal touch. So on the one hand, I get how social media definitely can stunt the personal touch, in which you actually are talking to someone face to face. You're seeing their face, you're next to them. It's a whole different experience when you have someone next to you, right? I get that. I get what the negatives are. But then at the same time, there are some positives. And I believe at this time, with the pandemic and everything that's happened, this is where social media like this HAPS plays a vital role in us being able to connect with our family, our loved ones, and our friends. I think that if you use social media properly, and what I mean by properly, that means whatever it means to you. Meaning, when I say properly, meaning use it to empower yourself, empower others, right? To educate and what have you. That's what I try to do. I do get into polarizing content at times, but I use my voice to educate and inspire people. And so there's a way that you can flip the evils of social media and make it positive. Don't let it control you. You control it, and you control it by the messages that you put out. Are your messages resonating with people in a positive manner versus a negative manner, right? Because we know that people use social media for bullying people. And I had a chance to read the policies today on HAPS. It talks about no bullying, right? They don't want you getting into certain type of content that's a danger. You know, it's very fair. You have to follow certain guidelines, right? Because they realize that there's people who use these platforms sometimes to do more damage than good. In some cases, not all. And let me ask you this: with podcasting, have you seen where people have gone too far with their podcast to the point that it can be very harmful? Have you witnessed that, or have you seen that? Have you heard a podcast where you said, wait, I can't listen to these folks anymore? And I know podcasting can be fun, you know.
For the most part, I can't say. For the most part, like 98% has been quite pleasant. I mean, I did come across a situation with two different platforms, and someone spoke about the people, the things that they, I guess, were saying towards her. I guess she said they were bullying, and there were some other things going on. But from that conversation there alone, it didn't resonate with me well. So I just did a podcast, kind of just like talking about we have a role, if we have a platform, we should use it. You know what I mean? We shouldn't carry ourselves in that manner, because I said, just by me hearing that and knowing that it made me look at them in a different light. You know what I mean? And so that stood out for me. But and there was a time when I was just sitting back listening to somebody's podcast, and they started talking about bullying. You know, that's my thing there, and they were laughing at. They were like making like little jokes, kind of like, "Oh, there's healthy bullying's fine. You know, it's always good to have a little bit of healthy bullying." So you know, I do because you can call in. And I had to get in there, and I just kind of, you know, which it worked out, but I just wanted to get in there and let them know, like, hey, this is it's not funny. But I just told them the realism of bullying and what it can lead to, and the suicide and everything. And they kind of were like, oh, we didn't know. That's like I think the for me, from my experience, the worst I've seen. And that's not even that bad. So
I would have to say this, Brandy, and someone has some good words to say. We see Chris says, this is a great story of your experience. Well said. Ramiro says, picture India has much love and respect for Brandy Singleton. I think it's Brigdag has much love. Do you know this person here? Let me put their
name. We were on we were on like for an hour last night.
So did this person come on your channel last night? See?
Okay, no, this is my. Oh, that's Joe. That's from the brigade. Joe, no, he's this is from the Indie Brigade. It's a whole different like a platform, like Joe
from the
Indie Brigade. Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome.
Indie podcast.
Okay. Well,
hey, Joe.
glad he came on over. I know you. One of the things that's interesting about HAPS that I find very interesting is that when you bring guests on to your panel, they can in turn send out the interaction on the panel to their social media, which then in turn brings more people over. I find that fascinating. That's a different take on this. So if you invite me on and I invite someone else on that's on this system, and then they plug into their social media, and then that brings more people over to watch what you're doing. I think that was brilliant.
Yeah.
For the people who for Peter and those that were involved in putting this together and the CEO, I think it's a genius concept that when you bring guests on to your platform, they can automatically bring people that follow them on their social media over to your platform because they allow you to plug right into your social media. Now, all of a sudden, that broadcast is going into your feed. And then after the broadcast is over, it can remain on your page if you like. I think that was a brilliant concept.
Yeah.
Because when you're creating, and the same thing with podcasting, anything that you do, YouTubing, anything, because I have a YouTube channel as well, which I've been doing for a while, grinding. And, I'm pretty well known within the YouTube streets over there. But what I notice with this concept is that with any concept, you got to figure out a way to stand out in the market. So when they say, okay, social media is saturated, you got everybody doing this and this and that. Okay, everybody's doing. You got all these live streaming platforms. But what Haps is doing is that they're standing out, and that's what I think is going to be built on their success because of the fact that they are not offering you just straight live streaming access, the ability to live stream, but they're making it very fun and interesting because now I can connect anybody that I know that and tell them, hey, join Haps. And then when they connect with me, they can bring their audience right into my stream. I can bring my audience into their stream, right? And then they have this system of these different coins and different ways that you can earn little rewards. And I like the way they have when people send you any kind of support. It goes up on the screen. So their concept is fresh, and that's what you have to do. When it comes to podcasting, can you tell me, Brandy, what does one need to do to stand out in podcasting?
Well, I always think, first of all, be true to yourself because that's not going to come off very real if you're not yourself. But I think to stand out, and then we had this, I was on a show this morning and we talked about this a little bit, and we spoke about how, like, since everyone all has kind of, I guess, like their different style of things, and that standing out really, I mean, I guess to each its own, because nobody's really trying to compete because everybody does their own thing. But I think for yourself and for you to seem as you're offering that you're different because you want to differentiate, if I said that right, differentiate. I think you should always be willing to go there, if that makes sense. Like, I guess depending on what you're talking about, but I don't care how safe, whatever it is that you're talking about, you can still there's always room to go there a step beyond, like, what is someone not doing? And even if it's out of your comfort zone, that's even more reason to do it, because you always want to, so I think really just look around and check, and then make sure. That's why every time I do a different shift, like sometimes I'll settle, like I won't push myself because I'm waiting for some great awakening or something. I'm like, what's next? Because I elevate, you know what I mean? And I'm still kind of in limbo right now. I'm working on like the radio show and on these different shows, but there's a breakthrough coming, and there's going to be a whole nother stage. And I just haven't tapped in yet, but I just know it's there. So I kind of wait for that calling. So there's always something.
Well, let me tap into what you're talking about right now. You've got a radio program that you're putting together. I want you to let the folks know exactly what it is that you are you're getting ready to get ready to engage in. You're taking a big endeavor into radio broadcasting. Let everybody know exactly what you're doing with that right now.
Yes. I was brought along with my boys, Wise from Stuck in My Mind podcast and Poppy J from Talking Real 1000, and they had came up with the Real Wise radio concept, and instead of just being like basic like radio, because you can go listen to music anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We decided they decided well yeah we decided that we should bring on content, original content. So I'm creating a whole nother show. I'm playing my show because we go live, and then we also are letting shows play too. And so original content, he's actually open. They've opened it up to auditions where if you sing, if you want music to be played, if you're a comedian, DJs, it's just open, to so many different like talents to give people that foot, you know what I mean, to be able to, just to give, pay forward, like make it, open the door for people to be able to, because you never know where, what I mean, it's all up to a person, how far you want to take something or you want to go.
Right.
So that's what
you give them a forum to be able to express themselves.
Yeah.
So that's very
however,
important. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
However they want. If you want to make people laugh, like whatever it is you do, this room, because we could just keep it simple and do mediocre and play it safe. But we're like, like you just said, what do you do to stand out? What do you do to be different? And that's exactly what we're doing, is doing something what nobody else is doing.
Okay, let me ask you, who maybe, and if you said this already and I didn't hear it, definitely forgive me here, but whose concept originally, was it your concept or your friend's concept? Was it that were you the brainchild of this, or was it your his brainchild? How did it all come to this reality that, hey, we want to make a radio show and give people a platform to express themselves?
This was more of Wises and Poppy J's with the radio, because I'm noticing Wise likes to elevate. So what I mean, he's like, okay, I did a podcast for a year. He's like, let's go big, and then everybody's like, I'm down. And so and so now we all still keep coming up with like ideas and stuff like that. So that's what we do every day, is go in the studio, and then we just are always just at it, going to I usually mess around through the website. I've been working on that, and just keep bringing all the creativity. I enjoy it a lot because they let me bring my, what I mean? It's like I'm just as important, my voice and everything, and my creativity is like welcomed, so.
We've got Mr. Raymond Simmons who's come over. He has a great channel. I was over at his channel for a little bit today. Thank you for coming over. He says hello from Raleigh. Are you in Raleigh, North Carolina, if I'm reading that correct? Good to see you. Let me ask you this. Is this going to be internet radio? And the reason why I asked.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let me tell you, people would laugh at the idea of internet radio some years ago. They would just plain out laugh and think that it was something to laugh about. But you can't laugh at internet radio anymore. Because where is the majority of young people? Where's the majority of people? Where are they at? Are they looking at television? Are they listening to dinosaur terrestrial radio, which is really becoming a thing of the past? You've got XM radio, terrestrial radio is taking a big hit. You're seeing everyone going to these platforms to produce shows. So there was a time when people would kind of laugh at people that did internet radio, but internet radio is another wave of the future, because that's where most of the young people are anyway, that you might want, that your radio program may cater to. And that is where are they at? They're on the computer. They're on the internet.
Yeah.
Let me ask this question to everybody listening. When is the last time since we've got the computer aid, the computers and the social media sites and all these different things like HAPS, when was the last time you've actually heard someone say, Branding, and anybody in the chat room can answer this too, when's the last time you heard someone say, I'm going to go listen to my radio, I'm going to go get some batteries for my radio? Huh?
It's so funny when you say it.
It's enough to make you. It's enough to make you want to laugh.
Yeah, I'm like, you have a radio?
Right.
Yeah, nobody does that anymore.
It's been a long time since I've heard someone say, "Hey, I got to go to the store to get some batteries for my radio. Hey, I got to listen to my transistor radio tonight, right? Hey, I got to go get my." I mean, I grew up. I'm a Generation Xer. I remember the times when it was a big deal to go get batteries for your radio, to have your transistor radio. You would have people saying, "Don't touch my radio. Don't change that dial," right? It was important to make sure you had the right dial. You put the little tin foil, try to get the right signal. I mean, but nowadays, in the time that we live in, just like the Walkman is a dinosaur tool of music people use for music, I don't hear people talking about, I got to go get some batteries for my radio, or I got to go get my radio. Most people are taking their phones and listening to music on their phones. You can even download apps and listen to radio, internet radio, on your phone.
Yeah.
It's becoming a thing of the past.
No more Sam Goodies or what was it? What was the other one? I think I just went to Sam Goody's most in Tower Records and stuff.
I remember when Radio Shack was a big deal.
Yeah, that's the one. Radio
Shack. Right. So, So once again, social media, these type of platforms in the computer has allowed us to expand and have more access to content, whether it be audio content, visual content, and even written content, because you have people blogging. Now you got on YouTube and you have in streaming people who do video vlogging. So everything in our world is constantly changing, and the internet technology is at the center of all these changes when we are engaging in these type of platforms. For example, if it was not for the internet and for social media being what it is today, I don't think podcasting would be taking off. Podcasting is a $1 billion industry. It has surpassed radio, terrestrial radio now. And a lot of people who work in terrestrial radio are getting a little, I don't want to say, well, I can say they're jealous, but there is some animosity, because for the first time, the everyday person has a voice. They can pick up a mic and they can talk and express their thoughts about what's happening, and you're not pigeonholed to what someone is saying on television. Now, don't get me wrong. You have to have traditional journalism. We have people on this platform that are journalists, so I'm not disrespecting them. Proper professional journalism is needed. You got to have it. You got to have it. But the podcasting for me, and we do know that people who do podcasts can put out misinformation, and there's people who can put in, she's gone now, folks. I don't know what happened. Hopefully she'll be right back in a moment. Maybe there's some technical problem. Okay, she's there. We do know that people can put out misinformation with their podcasts, and I think that's one of the things that people who work in journalism or in terrestrial radio don't like, because there's a certain credibility that when you work in journalism or you work in the legitimate radio, or not legitimate radio, but terrestrial radio, there's a certain standard that you must be held to, that someone who podcasts may not necessarily be held to that same standard unless there's some well-known person. You know what I'm saying? What is your thoughts about that?
Yeah. I know definitely the whole because we were talking about that the other day, how people kind of like still snicker at podcasters, like, you still doing that podcast and you do. You know what I mean? And just be like, yeah, I'm still doing my podcasting. They don't want to take it seriously. That's what it is. But they have no choice. But no, I think that I think it's just because it's probably because they see what's really happening, that it's taking it's growing, and what that means, like everything you explained, because everything's on the internet, and then people are pulling away from radio and going to podcasts, and all they need to do is just hop on board. I'll be happy.
Right. Right. It gives you so many easy ways to express yourself and what have you. You know, let me bring this up to you. They say that there's a lot of people, because podcasting it's going to get oversaturated if it's not already oversaturated with lots of people. And I noticed that the big names. See, this is this is the unfair part of podcasting that I don't like. There is a pay to play within podcasting because you see certain well-known people who get their podcast marketed big time, right? They're getting all the money, the Joe Rogans of the world, right? I think my man Joe, what's the brother that has the podcast? He's
Joe Budden.
Joe Budden, right now.
Joe Budden.
Yeah, Joe Budden. I respect Joe Budden because he worked hard to get to what he's got.
Yeah,
but you have people with certain celebrity status who, the minute they crack,
Michelle Obama got one too.
Yeah, as soon as they crack open a mic and they create a podcast, it's being marketed. Now I got to be honest here, and I'm keeping it 100% real because I've had a chance to listen to a lot of podcasts. There are people who are well known who have podcasts, and their podcasts are getting all the marketing, all the money, all the bells and whistles, and their podcast isn't any better than John, Tyrone, Jeff, Keith, and Mary, and Brandy J down the street. Only difference between their podcast and yours is that they've got a machine behind them marketing their podcast, and they've got a branding name. But I've listened to Joe Rogan, and I don't think that his podcast, for example, sounds any better than podcasts of people that I know personally who are not celebrities and who don't have. A matter of fact, I've listened to people who are not well known, and they got better podcasts. They got a better grasp of the subject matter, a better grasp of the issues. And so that's the one thing that I don't like about the podcasting world, that it seems to be saturated. If you're a smaller known person, you seem to, the little guy and the little lady gets kind of smashed down by the big people who get all the conglomerate support. And that's just, and really that's the American way, right? Because we're a capitalist society, right? You put forth who's going to make you the most money.
Yeah. True. I noticed that people like realness. They like regular, like, so they can get that anywhere. You know what I mean? They want to hear from people. Right.
And so that's why when I listen to podcasts, most of the time, I like to listen to people that are not as well known, because they got something to say too. And in some cases, their voice and what they're saying sounds better than the quote unquote well-known people, right? For example, and I hate to say, I don't hate to say this, I got to say it again. This platform that we're on tonight, it gives a opportunity for people who have something to say, who have a talent, who have a skill. And then it also allows the professionals that are on this platform, it gives them another relaxing outlet to report the news, to report what's on their mind, to report factual information, but to be able to do it in a very relaxing manner, in a very down-to-earth manner. So these platforms are very important, very, very important.
Very.
Let me get into a little bit of politics with you for a moment. And I thank you. You know, Brandon, you're really my first guest on here as far as an interview that I've done since I've been on HAPS. So you're the first. Because remember, I wanted to get you on my YouTube channel originally, because I'm not on YouTube tonight. We're on Facebook, Periscope, HAPS, and the Twitter and all of that tonight. And then
Instagram.
I'm also and Instagram and all that good stuff. Well, you know, I don't know how this goes into Instagram.
Me neither. You've got to press the multi thing. It's that one that says multicast.
Serious?
And then I looked, and the Instagram was down there. Because I didn't get Instagram last time.
I've got my Instagram.
And I pressed that and I looked down.
I got my Instagram connected on here, but let me see. Am I still able to activate it while we're on, or because I have it when we went live, I already had the Instagram connected. So I'm wondering.
I didn't have mine.
Maybe I'm on Instagram right now and I don't even know it. Let me check something.
Because I just had it at first connected, and I just did multi to see what that did. And then I looked again, and I said, "Is that Instagram?" And that's because that's my main one.
But I don't know if you can broadcast into Instagram. I think Instagram has certain rules
Go ahead.
about
It was on there.
about you broadcasting out of another platform into their platform, because
Mhm.
I know the guys at Yard Streams were talking about Instagram has to change some kind of policy that they have to make it possible. It's going to happen. The day is going to happen when you are going to be able to broadcast into Instagram straight from another platform. It's going to happen because the technology is not going to hold. They're not going to hold it back, especially if Instagram benefits from letting people stream in like this. If they get some kind of benefit out of this, especially if they start saying, "Hey, we'll monetize your broadcast," and they can get a little bit of coin themselves. Oh yeah, because once again, money talks and BS walks. We live in a capitalist society.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But I don't see.
It popped up also.
I'm gonna have to wait a minute. I got my Instagram on, so I'm on my page right now. What do I do to activate it? If that's true, if that is true,
go to. I went to the when you connect that page, I went to connect to like Facebook or Twitter and stuff. Yeah. Whichever ones I wanted to connect, and now you see how it says multi, right? Is it, and then just connect?
Well, let me go.
When I was at the regular multi. Okay.
Let's see. Let me see. I'm gonna go to destinations. Well, I've already got it running. It's on. Well, let me see.
See, mine wasn't running.
No, it doesn't have. I already have the Instagram clicked on this, but I don't know if you can actually broadcast into Instagram from another source, because I think they have some type of rules on Instagram.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do it.
They have to relax those rules that they have first. So I could be wrong. I could be right. I could be wrong, but we'll see. Hopefully, if Peter is still here, he can answer that. Some of the guys that have put this platform together, they can answer that. But
some new stuff.
yeah. We'll see. I mean, eventually, I think it's going to happen with Instagram. I mean, you can go live on Instagram proper.
Yeah.
But I think the time will come when you will be able to go on Instagram through other platforms, because everyone else is doing it. And think about it. Facebook, if I'm not mistaken, owns Instagram.
Yeah.
And you can broadcast into Facebook. So come on, Facebook. Get it together.
You can broadcast into Facebook through Instagram?
No. I'm saying Facebook owns Facebook, if I'm not mistaken, owns.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, you do.
And you can broadcast into Facebook from other platforms, such as the platform we're on tonight, Haps. So my answer is that if that's the case, eventually Facebook would have to be the one to pull the trigger to make it possible for you to broadcast directly into
Instagram. That'd be awesome.
And that's why I was saying, if Instagram, if there's another way for them to make money, they can make an incentive where people could monetize their content on Instagram when you go live. It's possible. You never know, because once again, like I said, we're in a capitalist society. So, these things, anything can happen. Let's talk about politics. Let's get into a little bit of political talk here. What is your thoughts about this whole impeachment of one Donald Trump? Today, they had some of the opening arguments. They're trying to make a case. I'm kind of wondering if they're going to have the police officers, because there was a lot of police officers who were very upset. I wonder how many of the police officers are they going to allow them to testify? Because if they really allow the people who got hurt, who got harmed up there, the police officers, all those different people that were involved in this situation that got hurt by this, if they would allow them to testify, that would be compelling. What do you think? What are your thoughts about this whole impeachment situation? You can be honest.
Well, now that part there you said, that's very interesting. That would change the whole game. But since they don't usually work that way, it seems like I wouldn't be surprised. I was thinking today after I was watching, if they just happen to not even, it works in his favor, and then he gets to try to run again because he keeps dropping these dimes and stuff like I'll be back, I'll be back. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay. So that wouldn't be far fetched. Like if that was just like that's what I felt like. I felt like you guys are just going through the emotions right now. You know, you're putting us through the emotions, all this for all nothing, and then you just, you know,
right?
Because everybody's getting a hand slap. Like, what?
According to I use Truthout. Truthout is a great truthout.org gives great content. News and political election. Trump's second impeachment begins with footage of the murderous rampage of January the 6th. Let me just read something real quick here. The second impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump begins in the Senate on Tuesday, just this Tuesday. For some of you around the world, it's probably already Wednesday for you. I'm in the West Coast of America in California, so it's about 10:14 here p.m. The second impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump began in the Senate on Tuesday. Okay, spearheaded by lead impeachment manager, Republican Jamie Ruskin of Maryland. The trial began a month and 3 days after Trump loyalists swarmed the Capitol on January 6th, and results in violence led to the death of several people, including the suicide of 2 Capitol Police officers. See? So you got 2 officers that have taken their life that were involved in trying to fight against these folks in the days following. After the Senate voted on a rule impeachment and Ruskin made a short speech, the House impeachment led showed a video. And that video was a combination of showing all the rampage that took place. They showed video, a combination of video footage they took from the phones, cameras, and from January 6th attack mixed with Trump remarks from before and after and Capitol breach. Now, there is something about to come out, Brandy, that may blow the lid off of this whole thing. I was reading that there's some people coming out saying that they may have evidence that this is just what I'm hearing. I'm just let everybody know. I don't know if it's facts, ladies and gentlemen, but this is what the rumor is that there's people who have evidence. They're saying that there's evidence out there that this thing was planned way in advance before that day, and that President Trump may or may have not been a participant in trying to get this thing going. Now, they're saying that that's what's being out there. There's a chance that they may be presenting this evidence. And I think I'm going to find this article, that there's a chance that they may be presenting evidence in this trial, because remember, an impeachment is a trial. And normally in a trial, you have what? You have witnesses, you have evidence, and you have people who give their testimony. So if this comes out in the wash, that someone or someones are willing to go to the Capitol and speak out and say, yes, we have the evidence that shows that Trump definitely incited this whole thing, and we'll show you why, because he was planning it. It was being planned. So that's I want to be very fair, and I want to be very matter of fact here. And that is, I cannot say that it's 100% correct information. All I can say is that that's what was put out there in the news today. That's what was sort of reported in print news on the computer that I was reading. And I wish, what I want to do, and I want you to say a few words, whatever's on your mind, while I see if I can find this right now. Go ahead, Brandy.
Yeah. I had came across something earlier too. What I heard was a little more descriptive, but I'm not going to get into that because it was quite disturbing. But I just feel like you can hear me well, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I feel like, I don't know, it's like, it just doesn't add up to me. Like, for instance, the girl that got the computer, she just basically got like a slap on the wrist. You know what I mean? That is a huge crime there. But yet on the other hand, you get another type of girl that did nothing and she gets like somebody broke in her house. It was crazy. So I'm just comparing. I'm just seeing what's going on here, and
No,
it's not like we've never seen something like this before. Go
look,
ahead.
look, look. The honest truth is that we know that some people in this society get treated different than other people. I said it on my
Yeah.
YouTube channel. We know if black folks would have did that, they would have already had the military out there. Look, for example, and we got to tell the truth. We got to tell the truth. Back in 95, when Farrakhan had the Million Man March, the whole country was feeling uncomfortable about that march because you were going to have many, many black men coming to Washington, D.C. during that particular period of time. I think I was probably 23, 24 years old. I'm 51 years old now. Prior to that, they knew that they were coming and they beefed up the security and they had the guards out there ready to go. Well, guess what? Nothing happened. Black men went out there. They were peaceful. They cleaned the place up. They left it cleaner than it was when they got there. Every time we've had gatherings where we've marched and gone to Washington, D.C. for any type of demonstration, they have the police out there ready to go. Even Michael Moore said in a video that he dropped on YouTube that there's about 1,000 to 2,000 Capitol Police. He said on that day there was about 500. Why was there 500 versus what there would normally be? Right? There was something strange about it. He also mentioned that when they went inside the Capitol, it appeared like some of these people knew exactly where they were going, almost as if they had the map to the damn place. They were talking about how Clyburn had a secret office. They knew where people's offices were that had no label on it, right? These are the things that happen. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying to you is that historical history has showed that historically, when African-American people have marched in this country or demonstrated, there's always a heightened amount of police right there to do something. So everything about this situation that took place in the Capitol on January 6th, none of it smells, it all smells to suspicion, in my opinion. Now, I don't want to, once again, we still have to see how all the facts come out in the wash. But the question I'm saying is that if you're going to have an impeachment, which is supposed to be a trial, then you have to interview and leave no stone unturned. You have to interview many people to get many perspectives as to what happened that day from the people that were there. And my question is if you have Republicans, if they've got their own colleagues that are expressing what they went through, hiding in their office. Okay, because let's be honest, people want to get away from this. This is just the truth. They also wanted to hang Mike Pence. They said hang Mike Pence because Donald Trump was trying to get Mike Pence to turn that election by decertifying it when they went up there that day to count those, to get all the delegates counted, right? And they went up there to disrupt that count or that certification. Let me see, not count, but a certification of the votes. And my question, and I don't think this country has really examined that enough. What if they had got their hands on Mike Pence? They had hanging gallows outside. What if they had to drag that man and actually were successful in hanging him? Then what would everyone say? And he's the vice president for Donald Trump. Can you say that that's a left-wing conspiracy? Can you say, oh, that's Antifa? No. It was Trump supporters who said out of their mouth that they wanted to hang that man.
Yeah.
So if that would have happened, then who do you blame? Can you say that? Oh, it's a left wing conspiracy. No, it was the right wing that hung the man. If that would have happened, it didn't happen. But I'm saying they went in there with the intention to get their hands on some of those politicians.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Because like you said, like what if, like, you know, they weren't successful, but they was on their way, and it's like, what they had, like, realize what they did too, wait, like, you realize what you've just done. He can't get you out of it. You know.
Okay, yeah. I found the article. This is in truthout.org. It says new evidence expected at Trump's impeachment may change the GOP's mind. They're saying that the evidence that they're going to present could change even the Republicans' mind about this whole thing. House impeachment managers are likely to produce new evidence. We still haven't seen what that evidence is, ladies and gentlemen, this week in a Senate impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump, which may convince some Republicans reluctant to indict him to change their mind. Aides to those managers have said that the details on the new evidence that impeachment managers will present are currently scanned, but aides to the prosecutors explain that it will demonstrate how Trump actions in the weeks prior to the Capitol breach in January 6th prove his guilt. The new evidence will also show that Trump continued to instigate his mob of loyalists in their violent attack of the Capitol building while after those attacks had started. Pressed by reporters to discuss the matter further, aides told them to stay tuned for the details in the days ahead. So let me just say this. All the article is saying is that they're supposed to present some potential, I say quote unquote potential, because I want to be a responsible reporter here, a potential breakthrough in evidence that may show that Donald Trump really did stir the pot prior. That's what they're potentially saying that they're going to show, but we don't know what the evidence is, folks. We do not know. That's what's reported when they were talking to the aides that are involved in working with the politicians who are engaged in this impeachment of Donald Trump. So we're going to have to stay tuned, as the article says, stay tuned and see what happens over these coming days. What do you think, Brandy, is going to, when it's all said and done, what do you think is going to happen? Be honest.
Oh, like this outcome of in his situation?
Yeah. Yes. What is your honest thoughts? And be honest.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be a good guest, a reporter or interviewer, and not say things that are not factual. So we'll wait till that comes out. But I think that I guess now until that is presented, I don't know. But I'll tell you this much: if it's not something that I mean, I think first right now at this moment, for that to be something that they're talking of, it must be something very important. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's so therefore I'm kind of like, you know, like up in the air with it. Because so many crazy things have happened with this that I wouldn't even fathom. I'm still like the images in my head still just all over the building and stuff that anything can happen at this point. Like I just don't know. Yeah.
A part of me, because the Republicans are steadfast in their position. See, this is the problem. Donald Trump did legitimately get 70 million people that voted for him, and then Joe Biden got a little bit more, and he got the election. And I'm not gonna debate with anybody about this, because I realize that there's people out there, maybe even on Haps, who do not believe that Joe Biden won the election fairly. And I'll give them that. People have the right to their opinion, but they don't have the right to their own facts. I would just say this. The reason why the Republicans, in my estimation, and people probably know this from looking at news reports, the reason why the Republicans are going to stay lockstep and fast with Donald Trump is because he's got 70 million voters in his pocket. And those 70 million Trump supporters are the same people that are in the same districts that these Republicans represent, and they need to get elected again. What I've learned about politics, ladies and gentlemen, is that in politics, there are no permanent friends. Listen to me now. I'm going to say it again, tell the truth. In politics, there are no permanent friends. There are no permanent enemies. There is only permanent interest in politics. So politicians only deal and go with their interests. The reason why they're lockstep with Donald Trump, because their interest is what? Getting reelected. He's got the numbers. Donald Trump is like the, how can I use this analogy? He's like the pretty girl at the party that everybody wants to, that all the guys want to get with. All the guys want to get attention from, right? Because why? He's got all the bells and whistles. What are those bells and whistles? He's got 70 million voters who are still loyal to him, and they need those voters to get reelected. If they screw over Donald Trump, those people are going to do a backlash against them, and they're going to find themselves out of office being replaced. That's the reason why the Republicans are willing to look the other way when it comes to morals and character, because they're trying to save their political careers as individuals, and they got aspirations. So because that's my opinion, that's my way I see it, I would not be surprised if people get up there and they cry, they tell their stories. If they roll in there on wheelchairs and say, look, they broke my leg. Look, they threw a fire extinguisher at my head, which they did. I wouldn't be surprised if all those people come in there. If you get Democrats and different politicians get up there and cry and tell their stories, I wouldn't be surprised if the Republicans still turn around and vote down the impeachment on Donald Trump, because permanent interest is more important than having friends in politics or having enemies, because that's the only thing that politicians recognize, is that they want to get re-elected. And if you know that you got 70 million or 70 out of that 70 million of Donald Trump's supporters are in some of your districts, and even if you piss off the people who got hurt that day and don't vote in their favor, you're going to have a lot of hell to pay when you go back to your district, and the people that are Trump supporters say, hey man, why did you impeach Trump? You're finished in this town, man. You're finished. We're not voting for you. We're going to get you out of office. That's how it works, Brandy.
Yep, that's unfortunate, because then we lose in the end. Like nothing gets done for the people. It's like all a game up there for them. They're playing a whole game. We're just out here like, hello.
Well, see, this is the problem. We have to remember that politicians work for us. We don't work for the politicians. But that's
exactly what I'm saying.
But they act like we work for them, and we don't. And see,
right.
and see, this is another thing. This is another misrumor that I want to bring up too. A lot of people think that a lot of those folks that went up there to the Capitol building and did what they did, a lot of folks think that they were just poor white folks. No, a lot of those folks were middle-class white folks, upper middle class. They were business owners, because they were the ones losing. They were the ones that had a lot to lose. See, when you're poor, you're already losing. So you're already lost. If you're rich, what is the one thing that rich people fear more than anything, Brandy?
I'm not gonna say not having money, and
rich people fear becoming poor people. So they're always going to do what? They're always going to fight for their collective good, their collective interests, because rich people don't want to be poor. And if you've always been rich all your life and you don't know what it's like to be without, you damn sure don't want to be without. People, see,
yeah.
Let me tell you a story about
They'll kill themselves out windows.
Yeah, let me give Muhammad Ali as an example. When Muhammad Ali was the world heavyweight champion, he was making money. He had all the fame, all the attention. And when they took his belt away from him because he wouldn't go to Vietnam because he said, "Hey, a Vietcong has never called me an N-word. Why are you gonna send me to another country to fight your war when you are my opposer in this country? I'm fighting a war against you in this country. You won't let me have rights. You won't let my people vote. You won't let me do A, B, and C, right? But you want me to go fight in some country somewhere else, right?" Well, what happened to Muhammad Ali? They stripped him of his championship belt. They put him in jail for a short moment. They put him on trial too. Make sure you watch the movie The Trial of Ali, and you get a detail. It was terrible what they were trying to do to him. So what did Ali say? Ali said, "Okay, I'll lose my money." What did he do? He gave up his belt. He gave up his fame and his money, right? And guess what? Ali was able to deal with that because why? He said, "Hey, I've been poor longer than I've been rich. I know what it's like to go without." So he was able to adapt. A person who's never been poor doesn't have any idea about it. They have no ability to understand how to survive in that state because they've never been there. That's why most people who've gone through struggle, we know how to survive in the good times, in the bad times. Think about guys on Wall Street who've been rich all their life. They lose a whole bunch of money and then they jump out of a window.
Yeah, the stock market crash. Yeah.
Yeah, the stock market crash, they jump out the window. Or we saw it with GameStop. As soon as they were see the rich guys or the Wall Street cronies, they're making all that money playing this casino game called Wall Street. Soon as the little guy figured out how to beat them at their own game by driving the stocks up and everybody's buying shares off of Robinhood, now the rich guys are losing money and they're like, "Oh my God, we can't lose our shirts. We can't pay our debts." What'd they do? They stopped them from being able to buy the shares, buy the stocks. They rigged the system, and when the small man figured out how to beat them at their own system, now they wanted to change the rules of the game in the middle of the game. You see?
Yep.
Well, Brandy, we're 97 strong tonight watching them. We're gonna end this because it's I know you're tired. I really appreciate you coming on tonight. This is the first that I've done with someone on this system. We're gonna have to try to see what we can do about getting your clarity and all that good stuff together. We were having some technical problems. But I think you got any other words you would like to say?
I would just like to say, be kind to people. Be kind. You know what I mean? And so much has been going on. People are going through things, especially like right now. I work with a lot of youth. They are really sensitive right now. For the most part, I'm going to guess a lot of us have kids in here, and we just should be supportive of one another because they're what matter right now. We should really focus on our kids, our youth, get them through this.
Right. Totally agree with you. I thank you for coming on board. We'll work out the kinks of the system, and there's still more to, it takes a while to just kind of learn a system that you're using and be comfortable with it. And it's, for the most part, it's very easy to use. There's a few things I need to look at a little bit to understand a few other things, but it's a great, I want to see something
layout.
It's a good layout. And let me see something. Like if you want to bring someone on, how do you go about, that's the thing. I need to find out if you were actually going to bring someone onto the show. Do you simply just tap their avatar? Oh, there it is. Invite the user. Oh, it's very simple. So you take your mouse and you right click on the person's avatar, and then it brings up a menu where you can put their statements on the screen. You can view their profile and you can invite them onto your panel. Very simple.
Cool.
They made this very simple.
Yeah, that's better.
They made it very simple, but they made it very robust in the sense that I still like this concept of being able to go onto people's panels while at the same time connecting into your personal social media and bringing people over from your social media to watch you and the guest and everyone on the panel. I think that is an excellent concept.
Yeah.
So
I definitely went into other sites talking about it.
Right. So we got 97 people watching live tonight. We got very close to breaking 100. But I love this. It looks like people are watching and they're enjoying what I hope that you all out there were enjoying the conversation tonight. I know I got into the political talk. You know, I said, and look, I know there's people out there that are going to either agree with what I'm saying, disagree, because there's people that are Trump supporters. I realize that. You got Trump supporters, you got Biden supporters. Personally, I think this whole political party, Democrats and Republican, the whole concept really it splits the country. And
yeah, it does.
And I have personal problems with Democrats and Republicans because they both do things that are sometimes not in the best interest of people, right? You know, so I've had my issues. I don't really consider myself a Republican or a Democrat. I'm more of an independent. And another thing that people need to start recognizing, if you're going to vote and you believe in the voting system, you've got to vote your interests. Don't vote personalities. One of the reasons why I think Donald Trump got elected in the first place is because people got captivated by his personality, his TV persona. People, look, I go all the way back with Donald Trump. I never liked Donald Trump even before he became president, but I go all the way back when Donald Trump was on the lifestyles of the rich and famous, right?
Remember that.
You got to remember, there's a psychology to Donald Trump. A lot of people like Donald Trump because a lot of these people grew up watching Donald Trump in his tower with all that fancy crystal in his roof. They grew up hearing about him in the newspapers in New York. They grew up seeing him walking out of his tower. They grew up seeing him dating all these different women from Europe. So what happened is that Donald Trump has this.
He smiled more.
Right. Donald Trump had a celebrity aura to him. People really connect to celebrities. Okay. Then you saw Donald Trump with rappers and all this. So I think people got bamboozled by the celebrity aura, and then the show. What was the show that he had on NBC?
The Apprentice.
Yeah,
is that the one you're talking about? What you fire people? Yeah, Apprentice.
So people really liked. See, this is why he got elected, because he had this personality that people really were buying into because they wish they could have his money and have his influence, right? So even when he did the show, The Apprentice, what did he do on there? He would fire people. You're fired. Get out of here.
Yeah.
People don't want to admit this, but America likes bad guys. Hell, even women like bad guys. Come on now. You heard the old saying, good guys finish last. Come on. Even women get a little.
I don't know. Depends.
Well, let me say this. Let's have the discussion. There are women. Let me say this. There are some women who do get very attracted and weak in the knees with men that are bad guys, versus the good guys who you say, oh, he's the nice guy, and the nice guys finish last. There are women that like these bad guys. It's something exciting about the bad guy versus the normal good guy who's boring. Okay, now let me bring this up. Donald Trump, when he ran for president in 2016, he was being accused by multiple women of possible sexual harassment. He admitted in that interview with Bill, with the Bush, I think it was Bush's little nephew or cousin, because he had an interview on that show, Access Hollywood, and he was in there talking about how he likes to touch women in the you know what, right? The kitty cat.
Yeah.
And despite all of Donald Trump's, you got to explain this to me. Despite all of Donald Trump's indiscretions when it comes to women and the way he talks to women and talks about them, you got to ask, why did 54% of white women vote for Donald Trump, the bad guy? Is it because they like the fact that he won, he's rich, he's got money, and he's the bad guy, and it makes them weak in the knees?
This is my theory on this.
even though he's not a good-looking man. And remember, when Bill Clinton was when Bill Clinton was getting a little, getting a little pleasure in the Oval Office, who were the biggest supporters of Bill Clinton, even after he was having a little fun in the Oval Office? It was women who were backing his because a lot of we're gonna go there. There were a lot of women. Let me just say this: there were some women that would have loved to be in the position that she was in because they had a little crush on Bill Clinton themselves. So you see where I'm going here. Go ahead, Randy. Make your argument now.
Yeah.
I made my argument. You make your argument.
Well, with Mr. Trump, I remember that time he was on wherever he was standing on stage and he was trying to win over. Like, I guess he had said something. Obviously, it didn't make a difference because they still stuck with him. But I guess at that point he stuck his foot in his mouth. He was trying to, I guess, win over the women that I think it's when he had did something about the housing or something like that. Something he had done.
He said to
yes, he was trying to make it up to him.
He said to white women in America, "You don't want certain people moving into your suburban communities."
Mm-hmm.
And you know what people he's talking about. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah. So, and through all that, they still did. But my thing is, okay, so we all know that Trump did not always look like this. I actually watched some documents, some videos and stuff where like you would be like, who is this? And compared to when he had all black hair and he was like, he made complete sentences and he was kind of like debonair, and he was talking and he was like suave. So I was like, okay, now I get it. I get it, but I don't get it. So, but now here we are now, and then I get lost all over again. But I saw like, okay, when he was speaking one day about, actually he's crazy part is he was speaking very kindly of melanin tone. He was asked a question about melanin tone men, saying that this would be the time to be a black man because they're doing very well, yada yada. I don't know if he meant it or not, but I was just looking at him like, what happened? And then it processed. Then that's what, when you said that, and then that's what I was thinking then too. I said, well, that would be the reason, like why? Because he seems a little more like like now. But the whole bad boy thing, I don't know if it's that. I just don't think some people are in their right mind.
Well, the reason why I bring that up is because if you look at history, even Kennedy, when he was president before he was assassinated, he was sort of a bad boy. He was having affairs on his wife, the first lady at that time. I mean, if you think about it, we had in the modern times, there have not been a lot of short presidents. I think Roosevelt was short. Matter of fact, I think Roosevelt was in a wheelchair and they would stage him in wheelchairs and make it look like he wasn't in a wheelchair sometimes, right? So if you look at the profile for president, people, they tend to like presidents that are tall and lean. Bill Clinton was tall and lean. Obama, tall and lean. Right now, Obama was probably maybe one of the first quote unquote nice guys, if you want to say that, that got into that White House, right? If you want to say that. I mean, in terms of his image, he had a nice polished image. But then let's be honest, a lot of people that voted for Obama, I don't want to sound sexist here. There were a lot of women that liked Obama too. They like to say, hey, I like to be where Michelle. There's a lot of women that like to be where Michelle's at, right? They like to be in that bed at night with Obama. I don't want to sound sexist here. I'm just saying, right? Just like the same thing for men. There are women that are in the public eye that men wouldn't mind being with. So when I'm not just talking about women, men too. But my real premise here is that Donald Trump has a bad boy quality to him, right? When he says things like, I'm not wearing a mask because wearing a mask is a sign of weakness. And people really buy into that. Yeah, it's a sign of weakness. So he actually represents.
Right.
I got to be honest here, even though I'm not a big fan of one Donald Trump, in a lot of ways, Donald Trump does represent what America's all about, right? Number one, right? America is a country that says number one, never number two. America is a country that boasts and beats its chest and brags about, right? So Donald Trump actually represents that brashness of American society, that I'm going to say whatever's on my mind. That's why people like Donald Trump, because he says what's on his mind. He doesn't have a filter, and he doesn't behave like a traditional politician. So that's why people who like him, they like him because they feel like, wow, he's talking the way I talk. Wow, he's saying things that I would say if I was president. So he has this coded personality about him, but he has a coded personality that actually is wrapped around the kind of attitude that Americans have, which is we feel that we're better than everybody else in general.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump sort of does. Even check this out. Even when Donald Trump took a couple of visits over to Europe, remember this. This is going to be a funny one. Remember the footage of Donald Trump when he was over in Europe and he kind of pushed this European diplomat out of the way? I think he was a diplomat or a president. He kind of grabbed him and pushed him out of the way and put him in the back and got up front. And then he kind of grabbed his suit jacket and went like this and fixed his tie. Did you see that?
No,
you remember that?
I can imagine.
No, I'm serious. They report he went over there and he kind of shoved the guy out the way. I think the guy was a president of a country. He kind of shoved him out of the way like get the hell out of the way. I'm the president of the United States. We're the best. You get the hell out of the way. I'm in front. No, I'm serious. That's the American attitude.
It sounds like him. Yeah, he believes it too.
That's the American attitude, baby.
Yeah.
That we're number one, we're not taking second and third to nobody. You get out of the way, I'm gonna be up front in the picture. You get yourself to the back. I mean, that's what Trump did. I'm not saying, I don't know what was in his mind, but he kind of pushed the guy like, I mean, it was like he pushed him to the back like he pushed him to the back like gangster. He was like, I wish that I had the footage to show people tonight. That was the funniest thing when he did that. But to me, it's
probably find it on Google.
Right. But it said to me, when I take a look back, we're at 99 people watching, almost. Let's see if we can break 100. When I look back on this, I got to be honest and say that's why he was well liked by his followers, because he sort of represents what America's all about. Tough.
That is true.
Be tough. Don't wear a mask. Don't do this. Don't bow down. And then what did he say when he didn't get reelected? He said he would never concede to Joe Biden. Never. Yeah. Because his whole persona was don't show weakness. And the people who follow him, they brought into what he was selling. And this is another thing for Trump supporters and everybody. A lot of us forget that Trump is from New York. He's a salesman. He can sell you a pair of shoes with no bottom in it, and you would buy it. He's a salesman. And I think a lot of folks who gravitated towards him, they don't realize this guy's a salesman. People in New York know who he is. They were trying to warn the country about him, but nobody was listening. Donald Trump knows how to manipulate the media. New York is the number one media market in this country, in the world, I guess. And I think LA is the number two media market. New York is the number one media market. He knows how to manipulate media because he's in the number one place. So I think that's why he has this aura about him that people are willing to do anything because he's got a coded person. He's got a coded personality.
What about when he left him in the cold?
Huh?
Remember when he left him outside in the cold? I didn't feel bad for them. When he left him, when he took him to the rally and he just left him, I think he didn't do it twice, and they had to go to the hospital. Like he left, he went about his way, and the people, the bus didn't come and get them. It got so late, some of them had to get transferred to hospital because that's how cold it was. And when I heard that, I was like, I don't think they're safe with him. I felt like he was going to leave them somewhere and be like, be gone. I don't know. But, and they came back even stronger. They were just like, yeah. I was like, whoa.
Because
he left them.
You know, someday I'm going to say it again. There's a psychology to Donald Trump. They'll probably have books and peer reviews and studies on the phenomena of Donald Trump someday. There'll probably be classes in college to illustrate the phenomena of Donald Trump. It's because what he did is he used something that he already knew was happening in the country. That is us against the government. That's what he used. He used a us against the government mentality. He used the let's make America. See, slogans are very powerful in elections because slogans are what they use to push the subliminal messaging, which is let's make America great again. Now, personally, for me as an African-American male, as a black man, for me personally, I think the term was very polarizing because I think when he says make America great again, I believe he's saying make America white again. That's how a lot of black people who are not fans of Donald Trump, how we saw it. We saw it as very isolating. And we have to be honest. There were a lot of people that followed Donald Trump that were part of these hate type groups. And nobody wants to really deal with that and really be honest about that. And what Donald Trump did is he used all of that element to get himself in the White House. And be honest with you, when he first ran again, I don't think that Donald Trump really thought he was going to win the election. I don't think it was until he saw the numbers really spiking up for him. And then the media, they also contribute to the psychology of Donald Trump because the media were loving Donald Trump. Why? Because Donald Trump was good for ratings. So you notice when he ran against Hillary Clinton, everywhere he went, the news would go right to Donald Trump. And if it was Hillary Clinton giving a speech somewhere, they would cut it off and go straight to Trump because Trump was good for television. Trump, what we had for 4 years was a living, breathing reality show right in the White House. He basically took his reality show right into the White House.
That's what Omarosa said, that was his plans in the first place. And she said she didn't think he was going to win. That's why she went to help him.
No.
But his plans was to go to the show.
Yeah, Donald Trump did not really think he was going to win this election in the beginning. Everything kind of happened organically for Donald Trump. If Donald Trump would have lost the election, guess what he would have done? He would have went right back to NBC and did another episode of The Apprentice.
I think he had Trump TV. They said he was supposed to be working on it or something. He would have been on TV somewhere.
Right. So I just think personally that he is he was well supported because they like the way he talks. They like his brashness. They kind of feel that it goes to their thoughts about, well, the government's being taken over by liberals. The government's going to take our guns from, you know what's funny? I got to say this. I always find it interesting when you hear people say that the government's going to take their guns away. But I know for a fact that the only people who have had guns taken away from them were black people when we bared arms. And I can name a couple organizations. There was a time, so it really trips me out when I hear people who say something's being taken from them when they've never had anything taken from them as my people have. Matter of fact, we didn't have anything to have something taken from us in the first place because they wouldn't allow us to have it. The reason why the gun laws changed in California because the Black Panther Party was executing their rights in California by bearing their arms when they went to Sacramento, California to demonstrate. And then when Ronald Reagan was governor of California, he said, "Oh my God, we can't have this." And then they changed the laws in California as it relates to guns. See, so when the minute that you had black people, and at that time you could bear arms, but you couldn't put a bullet in the chamber. So they had the arms, but they could not legally have bullets in the chamber. But eventually, because they had their arms under their own right of the law, they changed the law in California because they could not deal with black organizations like the Panther Party having their own weapons. Now, can anybody tell me when was the last time that's happened to white America where they actually changed the law to completely take your guns away from you, where you can't even walk out with them in open carry? Okay. Now, they might have gun laws that says we don't want semi-automatic weapons. We don't want people having semi-automatic weapons where they can go into a school and do harm to someone, right? I don't understand why people would not have a problem with that, because when most people commit mass shootings, what do they use, Brandy?
Those same guns that you just said. I'm not really good with like names of guns, but
they have the
you
AR,
just said it.
they have semi-automatic weapons. I just think, look, I know people have the right to bear their arms. I'm not saying take people right to bear their arms. You have every right to bear your arms. But come on, if I'm going hunting, I don't need a semi-automatic weapon to go duck hunting. That's ridiculous. It defeats the point of going hunting. You don't use a semi-automatic weapon. We know that a semi-automatic weapon can be only used for one thing, and that's to do mass destruction.
Isn't that what they carried around that time when we're reopening, or they wanted everything to open back up? Remember, they was going to they went down to the where that was. They had their guns and stuff, and they were demanding that they open everything back up. Is that what they were carrying?
I don't remember. I'm not sure. We just broke 100. I'm not sure if I can't remember what that story was about. Look, I'm going to say it again. I think people should have the right to bear arms. You should have all your gun rights afforded to you. I just think that it should not be easy for someone to get their hands on semi-automatic weapons, which can be used to go into schools and go into workplaces and do serious harm to people. That's what I have a problem.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I'll give you a perfect example. This goes back some years ago, folks. In San Francisco, I hope people listening out there remember this story. In San Francisco, California, and the reason why I know this story very well because, it was in the news, and I also know a lawyer who worked in the same building. Do you remember this story? Many years ago in San Francisco, there was a guy, I think he was going through a divorce with his wife or something really personal. He went to a lawyer. It was at 101. What was the name of that street? That was the name of the case. Anyway, he went to a law firm. He was not happy with the lawyers. He didn't feel that they were doing a good job in his case. He felt that his wife was getting everything from him. And I believe because he was pissed off about how things were going in the case, he got a semi-automatic weapon, went into this building downtown San Francisco with the intent to do harm to the lawyers. As a matter of fact, went in there and he harmed a lot of people. And it was because he wasn't happy with the way the legal case was going as it related to his wife, I believe, or something like that. It was called
That didn't help.
it was called it was a massacre it was downtown San Francisco. This happened like probably in the early 90s, I believe. I think I was in college. I was a freshman in college or something. Or I might have been just getting ready to come out of high school.
Well, I was 97, so you from me, so
yeah.
and for that, yeah.
And I know the old word. I know the old words. I know the words that people say. They always say that, well, guns don't kill people. People kill people. Well, that may be true, but you can't kill somebody if you don't have access to a weapon that can do harm to people in mass. Just like what happened in Las Vegas when you had that crazy guy who had a semi-automatic weapon, and he went to his hotel while you had I think it was a country concert, and he took out a lot of people. See, if he had never been able to have access to something like that, those people would probably be alive.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just my opinion about it. That's just how I see it. You know, no disrespect to people who like to have their guns. You have every right to your guns. But I just don't think that our kids should be at risk with people being able to get these weapons and go into school and do that harm. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And you can't have people like Marjorie. You can't have people like Margie Green going around on social media, whatever she was, talking about Sandy Hook wasn't real. What happened in these shootings were not real. That's reckless. That's reckless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Really reckless.
Reckless.
Because a lot of people lost kids and stuff. That's like, you know what I mean? Like, that affected a lot of people. And you just, I don't know. I saw a video. She was following somebody down the street. Like, I think somebody that was involved in that. And she was like harassing him, like, showed her. She was like yelling stuff to him. And I was just like,
Man, we live in a world that's I don't know what to say.
Right. You don't have to have no integrity. You don't have to have no morals, no like nothing. You just don't have to anymore. That's what I see. You know what I mean? Like that's just out the window. It's doggy dog, or I don't even know if that's doggy dog anymore. It's just like I don't know what I'm seeing right now.
I don't know what I'm seeing, but I hope. You know, Brandy, before we go, I was pondering this too. You know, this really, if you really, I think having children and having a family is a beautiful thing. But I got to be honest, this really is not a great world to bring children into. And I know people have heard that saying before, but really, when you think about it, is this a great place? I mean, yes, living life is great, but if you really look at it in a practical sense, given everything that we got going on, is this a great place? Look, our air quality is getting bad. They're tampering with our water, our food. You know, you got GMOs in the food. You got climate. You got all this climate change that's happening that nobody wants to be honest about. And when you factor in the environmental issues, the social issues, just in general, is it a great place to bring kids into?
No. I mean, you worry about the ones, you know what I mean, like that we have. And so, like, I don't see anybody like looking into like, oh, I want to bring a child into this, you know.
And that's the thing that's one of the things that bothered me about the Trump administration is that the whole time he was in office, he kind of spoke about how kids couldn't get the COVID virus, that they were immune to it. That's what Donald Trump was saying. But outside of that, Donald Trump's administration said very little about children. Very little about what they were going to do for kids. His administration was very adult and very adult oriented. There was very little said about children. What are we going to do about children, President Donald Trump? You notice that there was very little conversation about the state of youth in his
At all.
presidency.
The only time was when they said, okay, now we're going to open schools up. And all he said was, because they want to go back. They just want to go back. And I was like, you don't know that. I said, they ain't said that. I was like, that's all he said. And he just left it at that.
Right. But think about it like this. Children are the most unrepresented group in our country. They're the most disenfranchised. Why? Because they can't vote. They can't say, hey, I don't like this. Anything that this society passes, children will be impacted by. So kids don't have the right. So for example, if you got politicians constantly cutting school budgets that's impacting your child, well, your son doesn't have any mechanism to say, I want this politician out of office. He cut the school budget. I'm being affected by it. You see what I'm saying? You have parents that have to advocate for the kids, but children are the most unrepresented and disenfranchised in the country because they don't really, there's no voice for them. They can't vote politicians out of office. They can't say, hey, he cut our program. He cut our sports program. He cut our music program in our school. I want him out. The kids can't vote anybody out. They can't vote till they're 21. They're 18 years old.
Yeah.
But until then, for most of their life, they're disenfranchised, and they gotta hope that their parents have enough sense to be in their best interest. Right? So you see what I'm saying? You see how bizarre the world that we live in. We have people professing to be for family and professing to be for kids, yet kids are the most underrepresented in our society.
Yep. It's like the whole pro-life thing. It's like, well, if you're so pro-life, then it's a life right here, and it's being affected everywhere.
Right. Everybody is so concerned about making sure that you don't take abort the child. I get that, right? People that are pro-lifers, I get it, right? But I also feel that women should have a right to do with their bodies. They should not have men telling them what to do with their bodies. However, if you have a relationship with a man, I think the man that you are married to, that you're in a relationship with, that has some connection to you in that way, there should be an intelligent dialogue between the woman and the man to make certain decisions, right? Should be. Yeah. It doesn't always happen that way, right? But for the most part, we live in a society that says don't abort children. But when these kids are born and they grow up as adolescents into teenagers, where are the politicians and where are these pro-life advocates to advocate for children when they need programs? You notice how you don't see any of these pro-life supporters pushing and advocating, don't cut the kids' school programs.
Right.
You see, so you can't say that you can't be pro-life and then forget about the kid when the kid is born and has to deal with the ills of society. Come on, that's something. You see how out of whack we are in our society and our philosophies.
Hey, it's like you have a design that's going to screw. You know what I mean? You're pro-life, but it's like you're not setting that life up to be able to, excel.
Yeah, it just it kind of bothers me because of the fact that oh man. So we got 101 people watching us on Haps tonight. We got 2 people watching in Periscope, but I know there's more people watching in the Twitter, and I got a few people watching over in Facebook. That's what it was earlier today. But I know after I end this, there'll probably be more people watching. And I want to say to everybody that's watching, all 101 of you, thank you for watching the program, the podcast tonight. Brandy has been a great guest. Brandy, we're going to do it again.
Yeah.
I'm going to end it and get ready to get some rest.
I'm going to get it right next time.
I got to get to the JOB.
Yes, you do. Yes. Thank you for having me. Always. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. And until next time, have a good night. Brandy, have a good night. And I thank you for being here. Peace to you. Peace. And let me give you a clap for being here tonight and everybody for listening. Thank you, everybody. All right, Brandy, take care.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad that you were here. Thank you. Take care. Okay, everybody. That was, let me see. Let me push this right here. And Brandy, take care of yourself. All right. So that was Brandy J. She is a podcaster herself. I brought her on. We were having some technical problems earlier tonight because I think the HAPS app was having some issues. And then Peter came over from the HAPS team and said that everything was a-okay, because we were about to get off originally because things weren't working, and then everything started working properly. So I want to thank all 101 of you that are watching me over in HAPS, and all of you that are watching on Periscope, Twitter, and Facebook tonight. Thank you for listening to the program. We were talking about podcasting. We got a little bit into political talk. We got into some other areas about Donald Trump. And I want to thank everybody for listening. I'll be back with more presentation. I'll probably prepare a post to let you know when I'll be back on, but I'll be back on very soon. Thank you for coming over tonight again. If you have not subscribed to me on HAPS, go right ahead and subscribe to me on HAPS. I would appreciate that. I also have a YouTube channel called The Information Man Show. You can go over and subscribe to that on YouTube, Information Man Show. I'm going to give you a warning, though. I'm a little bit more raw and uncut on YouTube. So I didn't go on YouTube live tonight. I just went on all the other social sites. So peace to you, everybody that's come through, and have a good night wherever you are in the world. Thank you. Share the video if you like. I really appreciate you. And I'm just trying to keep building what I'm doing over here on this platform. I'm going to give you more interviews like that. We're going to talk about the hard issues, the hard social issues, the cultural issues, the news issues, everything that's happening in the world, in the global community. Thank you, everyone. And I'm going to get ready to get on out of here. Take care. Take care, everybody. Peace to you all. Appreciate it. Take care. Good night, everybody. Peace.